I was thinking during the meditation about the words of one of my favorite spiritual teachers. And Reverend Jan mentioned this idea of the law of giving and receiving. And the words of this teacher just came to me. He said, "Give, and it shall be given to you. A good matter, pressed together, shaken down, overflowing, will be poured into your lap. For we receive in the measure that we give." And I always loved how much our unity teachings tied to that idea that as we give, we receive. That idea that as we put our thoughts and our feelings and our emotions out into the world, we receive back in the material world things that are very much like what we're putting out. I'd always loved that idea. We even have a name for it. It's called the law of mind action. And it's this idea that the thoughts, feelings, and emotions that you put out into the world and that you hold out in the world as a part of who you are come back to you. They show up in the material world around you. So we're seeing a reflection of what it is that we're projecting out. So, if we give of our treasure into the world, well, then we receive our treasure back at times when we need it. If we give of our time to support those around us, well, then when we find ourselves in a time where we need divine support, we receive that divine support. And if we share of our talent, like you did this morning, Sebastian, thank you for sharing your talent with us. When we share of our talent like that, we open ourselves up to receive the presence of God. You see, it's this very simple truth, this very simple statement: give, and it will be given to you. And in this statement, this teacher shared with us just a clue, just a little bit of an inkling as to how we can get the keys to the kingdom of heaven. Now, I don't think I'm too far out of line if I say that we haven't exactly done an outstanding job of making this idea of giving and knowing that as we give, we'll receive the standard by which we live our lives. I think that's a fair statement to say, because the spiritual law holds that as we give, we receive. And so if that was the case, then we wouldn't have the issues with lack that show up from time to time. We wouldn't have that fear of not living in an abundant universe. And so I spent some time trying to figure out what exactly is it about this idea that's at least holding me back, because I won't put words in any of your mouths, but I will say, at least for my own experience, there have been times where I felt like, yeah, I'm giving, but I'm not receiving the way it says I should, the way these teachings say I should. So what's that about? And then I finally realized, and again, this is me only, but what I'm doing is I feel like I'm putting too much of my focus on the result. See, I'm focusing on that receiving part of the give and you will receive. So I'm taking this spiritual truth and I'm only applying it at this sort of material level, at this surface level where it's okay, we give so that we can receive. And I understand that and it's great, so I'm going to give because that's what we're supposed to do. What I realized is that that's not deep enough. I'm not taking it deep enough. And not just with this teaching, but with all of our teachings. There is so much depth for me to find in them. And so what I'm committing to in this moment, right here in front of all of you, is that I'm no longer going to take these things just at the surface value, but I am committing to mining the depths of these spiritual truths. Of mining the depths of the truth to find that one grain, that one little kernel of spiritual wisdom that resonates with me, that I can then take and move forward in my life with to create a greater understanding of that power and presence of God. To finally find out where those keys to the kingdom of heaven have been hidden and be able to open them up in my life. Now, before we get into the depth behind give and you shall receive, I want to just kind of explore just kind of a basic level of understanding for all of us so that we can kind of proceed through this idea with the same understanding of how this idea of the law of mind action and our thoughts affecting our reality works in the world around us, and how that idea affects our prosperity, the prosperity that we experience in the world around us. And so what I thought I'd do is I'd give you an example. Now, let's say that you love the idea of having a house plant in your home, and you understand fully the way that these plants help filter the air and clean the air and all of that in your house, and so you've decided you're going to bring a plant into your home. Now, you also know that you're the type of person that plant will be dead 3 days after it's come into your house. But you're going to go ahead and try this anyway. So you go out, you buy the plant, and you get it home, and you start caring for it. But in the back of your mind is still this idea that's saying, I can't take care of this thing. I'm just wasting my time. It's going to die. What do you think happens to that plant? It dies. You see, the beliefs we held about our ability to raise that plant and to grow that plant informed the reality that we experienced of the situation, and the plant died. Well, the same thing happens with our prosperity. If we're trying to live an abundant life, if we're trying to live in the flow of God, and yet we have even the shadow of a doubt that there might be lack in our world, or we have the feeling that we need to get and hold on to everything that we have because there might not be enough, well, what do you think we experience? More lack. Because that's the thought that we're putting out. And then a sort of interesting thing happens. Because what happens is we experience that lack, and then our mind uses that experience to reinforce the belief that we live in a world that's not abundant, and therefore we have to get all that we can get because there might not be enough. Because what we think is that having all of the abundance that we need is enough to get rid of that fear. And so we withhold. We don't want to give, because if I give, well, then I won't have more because I'm giving what I have. But the paradox is that the way we get more is by giving what we have. You see, it's when we move into that space of giving that we open up to the divine flow of God, to the abundance and the good that flows through the world around us. And so, if you find yourself in that place where you feel like you've got to hold on, or you feel like you're experiencing lack, the best way to change that mindset is to move into a mindset of generosity. To move into a place where you're giving your love freely into the world, where you're giving of what you have into the world. Now, just as a word of caution, the first thing that's going to happen, especially if you've been in a place of lack and you decide, well, I'm going to be generous, the very first thing your mind is going to tell you is, whoa, 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 whoa. You can't do that. If you start giving, you're not going to have enough. And so don't give. Well, give maybe just a little bit. Don't give fully, because there may not be enough. What I want you to know is that when that happens, that's the exact same thing going on that I showed you a few weeks ago with the baking soda and the water, and we put the baking and the water came up. It's the same process. You've added a new spiritual idea into your walk, and so you're resisting that. That old human ego-driven mind comes up to say, wait a minute, no, don't stay where you are. It's not comfortable to go out here. And so you just push through and continue on with that feeling of generosity. You've got to just kind of push through that moment. Now, there is one other piece that's very important to cover when we talk about this idea of giving, and giving to open ourselves up to receiving the good of God. And that piece is the intention that we hold when we give. Because you see, what I've noticed at least is that ego-driven human side of you it kind of has this way of weaseling itself back into your life, even when you think you've gotten rid of it, and then you turn around and go, oh, there you are, hello. And when it shows up, a lot of times it shows up, especially with this idea of giving and receiving, like this. You'll be sitting there going, okay, I'll give. I'm going to start giving because I understand that giving is the way for me to receive. And I need to get more, so if I give, then I receive, and it's a great way to get more of what I need. So I'm going to give because I want to receive. As opposed to standing in that place of truth and saying that I am a part of the divine flow of God. I am a part of the divine good of God, and the abundance of the universe is flowing through me in this moment, and it is from that place that I give. You see the difference there? See, it's the difference in where you put your intention and where you put your focus. I'm reminded of a story about a wise man and his village. And every year in this village, it was the custom of the tribe and of the villagers that they would go and they would pay a tribute to those who had helped them, to the leaders of the tribe, to the tribe itself, just to show their faith in this tribe and to show their faith in the leadership of that tribe. And so once a year, everybody in the village would come and they would pay tribute. And the leaders would stand in front of the temple, and they would stand there with these big ornate boxes. And everybody in the village would walk up and they would place their gift, whatever it was, in that box. And this wise man, he was standing by, he was watching this whole thing happen. And he'd look as the wealthy men would walk up, and they would make this big show of putting their gift in, and then they'd walk down the stairs to their friends, and, well, look at how wonderful I am, and did you see how much I gave? And did I give? I did give more than you this year. And it almost became a thing of bragging rights. And as he was watching this happen, the man noticed a widow walk up the steps behind the men and place into the basket 2 small copper coins. And he looked at those who had gathered around him, and he said, "Today I tell you this, that she has given more than all of these other men combined, because they gave out of the surplus of what they had. Yet she, out of her faith, gave all that she had." And what I love about that story is that it illustrates this idea that it's not about amounts. It's not about giving just to be seen. It's about giving just to give. The true purpose of giving is just to give into the world. You see, this is just a symbol. It's the intention that we place behind this symbol that allows those blessings to radiate back to us. And the true power we find in our giving and in our receiving comes when we can unlock the meaning behind this symbol. When we can look at this symbol and put our intention behind it. That divine love through me radiates and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive in return. And so infused with love, we know that our gift goes forward to do all that is ours to do. You know, that wise man knew a powerful truth. He knew the truth that it wasn't about amounts, that it wasn't the figure that was donated that caused the blessing to show up in the lives of the people donating, that it was the faith and the love that they gave with that was the multiplying factor in the good that they received. The amount doesn't matter. He knew that we didn't give out of some sort of obligation to a God. He knew that we gave because when we give, we connect ourselves to that divine flow of God. He knew that we give just for the pure joy of giving. You know, one of the things that I absolutely have loved about Unity, ever since I was a child, was that Unity always gave me an opportunity to put into practice the things that I was learning about. I didn't just hear about them on Sunday morning and, oh, that was nice, and then went about my week, but I was always given an opportunity to practice the teachings. And so today what we're going to do is we're going to actually give our entire community a chance to practice the very thing that I've just been talking about. We're going to be receiving our love offering in a slightly different way, well, in a significantly different way today than what we normally do. In just a few moments, I'm going to invite Reverend Bob and Reverend Jan to come forward. I'll invite the ushers to move to their places. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a ritual called the Sacred Walk of Abundance. Now, I know there's a few of you out there that might be going, wait a minute, this is Unity and we don't do rituals in Unity. I would like to invite you to look at what we do on Christmas Eve, when we light candles and we participate in that ritual. You see, the true power of a ritual is that it gives us a physical experience of a spiritual truth. And I don't know about you, but if ever I have an opportunity to physically experience something, it sticks with me in a way that just hearing about it doesn't. And so we're going to have an opportunity to physically experience this idea of giving and receiving. In a few moments, what we'll do is we'll invite you to either come up this center aisle here or those two outside aisles up against the brick wall and come to one of these three tables that are up here. And if you're up in the balcony, you are absolutely welcome to come downstairs if you want, but I didn't want to have to tell you. You have to run downstairs and back upstairs and back downstairs. So we'll have a prayer chaplain that'll be up there in the balcony that will be able to receive the love offerings as well. And what'll happen is you'll come up to the bowl and you'll place your gift in the bowl. And then you'll receive a blessing from either the prayer chaplain or from one of the ministers. We have blessing cards that have been prepared. Now, these are not all the same, so you'll be receiving whatever blessing is divinely appointed to be yours this day, and get to take this home and remind you of your abundance. So there are a few ways you can participate in our ritual today. And the first is just to come up and to give your gift and be blessed like you would any other Sunday when the bag goes by you. Now, I also know that there are several of you out there that are monthly givers. Maybe you just mail your check in at the start of the month, or you're going to use our kiosk, or you'll go online to our website and make your donation there later. If you do that, not just for this Sunday, but any Sunday, we have these beautiful little I Give electronically cards. They're in the pockets in the back of your pews. You can pick them up in the counter before you walk in. I would encourage you to just bring this up, place it in the basket, and receive your blessing. Now, you may also decide that you don't want to participate, and that's fine. You can just stay right where you are and continue to hold that space of gratitude. In fact, what I would like to ask is that everyone continue to hold that sacred meditative feeling to this process. Continue to hold to your thoughts of gratitude and generosity as we go through this process here together today. Now, I'll begin with a centering prayer, and then at the conclusion of this ritual, what we'll do is we'll have the offering brought back up, and we'll all as a community bless it one final time. And so if our band is ready, we'll go ahead and move into this place of prayer. This place where we hold those gifts in our hearts, where we firmly connect to the truth, to the intention that love and faith go forward with these gifts, where we affirm that divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive in return. And I am joy-filled and grateful. And so if you'd like to move into your places now, and then feel free to come up as you feel led. And so if we would bring those bowls just forward to the center. And if our chaplain in the balcony would just hold that bowl up there as well. Oh, it's there. So Reverend Jan, if you would also hold that bowl. And I'll have you turn and face out so that we can all bless these gifts and these offerings. And we just affirm again that these gifts, these offerings, these tithes are overflowing with love, with light, with faith, overflowing with the possibilities that will be returning to us. For we know the truth that as we give, so do we receive. And I would like to ask us all to affirm our offering statement. It's behind me on the screen. Together, we manifest our divine abundance now. And we hold that true for this ministry. We hold that as true for each and every one of us. And so it is. Amen.